So we're back here again. Once again, appreciate you guys being with us. This is Oni with Three Tribesmen. I have my boys with me, Timmy Teo, as well as my boy Ike. We have a special guest for you guys today. I would like to introduce you guys to someone that is very highly gifted in what he does, intelligent individual, comes from Ghana, but I'm gonna let him say that for himself. We have Kojo Yeboah. What's good, brother?
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Our first Ghanaian on the podcast. We thought Nigerians should bring a Ghanaian guy on the show. Why not?
You have to, man.
Yeah, man. You're in the presence of three tribesmen from Nigeria, bro. So, enjoy it, man.
Happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, so while you're on the show, give us an introduction of who you are, where you come from, what you provide to Ghana as well as here in America. What do you do? Let us know.
Yeah. So, thanks for the intro. I'm Kojo Yeboah, Ghana boy. So I was born in Ghana, raised in Ghana, and then I moved to the States for college, and then after college moved to New York. Been to New York for about 10, 11 years now, and yeah, I kind of during my time in New York kind of realized that hey, working with these companies, these corporations, there was always something missing. I always kind of felt going back home doing something related to Africa. So my background is in marketing. So I started my agency, which is Solvent. Kind of our focus is really working with people like yourself, creatives, entrepreneurs, really just helping launch the ideas. I started off in New York. We did quite well in New York, but then for me, it was always going back home, right? And I think that we have great, entrepreneurs, great creatives, great minds on the continent, and it was really just lending, everything I've learned, my skill set, my team, to kind of help elevate those voices. So helping launch these companies, getting them to the market, the global market is kind of, what we do. We kind of tell stories through brands, and that's kind of our main focus. But yeah, I mean, we can talk more about that, but yeah, let's.
So that's all great and stuff like that. I want to learn about you growing up, right? You grew up in Ghana, right?
Mm-hmm.
Came back out here for college.
Yeah.
How was that transition? Was it a culture shock for you? You said you were in New York. It's a fast pace for somebody from LA to move out there. So let alone someone from Ghana. Kind of dive more into that, that transition over to America.
Yeah. So growing up in Ghana was Ghana is big, but also the community in Ghana is very tight and close knit. We all go to the same schools. From the same schools, we kind of graduate to the same high schools, and then obviously college. So for me, I think being fortunate enough to be able to come to the States, maybe on summer holidays, I kind of had a sense of familiarity with just the U.S., the culture. But it was a bit of a culture shock going to Oklahoma. I had family in Oklahoma, which that's why my parents had me, my siblings all go to Oklahoma, but. There was, it wasn't the first time visiting, but I do think that the idea of going to college in Oklahoma was really it almost felt like what you see on TV. So when you see movies like American Pie, the way the college is set up, you have big football culture, big Greek life. Mm-hmm. That was my reaction, right? So for me, it just felt like this is what everyone experiences in America when they go to college. Right. I was fortunate enough to build a great community in college, have some good friends. But I think the culture shock came when I moved to New York and looked back at Oklahoma. I was like, oh, this is not just.
Now you're in America.
Now I'm in a different, but I think you in college, you're there for 4 years, and it's a college town. So that's all you experience. Everything is just that. But then I think when I left and I went to New York, and I was like, oh, this is not all everyone experiences. So that's really where the culture shock came from. But
so did you moved with your family to Oklahoma? Is that when you first came to the States, or?
No, so my sister went to Oklahoma first.
Okay.
Like I said, I had family in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay,
One of my
gotcha,
aunts lived in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And my sister was very close to my cousin in Oklahoma, so she went there. And then my brother went there, and then obviously your family's like, yo, you're all going to Oklahoma.
Same
I don't think I applied anywhere else.
I thought I was just wondering if there's a random Ghanaian community in
there.
Oklahoma or something.
No, I think because my aunt.
No, I believe that actually it's as an African coming to America or England or wherever for the first time, you got to go where your family is. It doesn't matter if they're in South Dakota, you're going to go there. When I first came back, I was like, I went to Texas, and I claim I'm from Texas, but it's because my aunt and uncle lived in Texas. So I came right from Nigeria, stayed in Texas for a while. And then when I came to LA, I was kind of like, oh, this is
different.
This is different.
Yeah.
Like college was the same thing for me. I joined a frat because that's what was popping in Texas.
Yeah.
Like joining a frat, doing the things there, and then I came to a major city like Los Angeles. Different story. I did not know that Africans are in Oklahoma. To be honest with you.
Yeah, there is. I mean, let's be real. You're gonna find Africans everywhere.
Right.
That's true.
Like there's Africans everywhere.
The question is, why did they go to Oklahoma?
I don't know. That's
Like Oklahoma?
I think it more so is just wherever you go to school at, whoever accepts you and what school accepts you, they kind of just like go there. Like it is what it is, and you just so happen to just like you just build your family there, and then when you bring somebody,
facts, though.
you just like
You continue to bring somebody,
Yeah, just bring someone
them
else.
over.
My aunt was actually accepted at Texas State University, and that's the school I went to. And this was like back in the 80s. I don't know, it's funny you said that, because now I'm like, maybe that's why, because her daughter went to the same school.
Yeah, that's what happens.
telling you.
Shout out to Aunt Charlotte.
She paved the way, huh?
She paved the way. She was lit.
Did you go to school for marketing?
No, actually, obviously being Ghanaian, I started off as engineering.
That's what I
started off as electrical
Electrical
engineering.
engineering.
I was gonna go
Yeah.
there.
2 years in, I was like, yo, my brain is not working. But I
not
took a
for me.
business class. And then I was just really liking my business classes. And then it took me about a semester to like tell my parents. I was like, yo, I think I'm gonna switch. And they were like, what are you gonna do with business? And I was like, it's a business degree. Like,
A lot.
So yeah, I graduated with MIS degree, Management Information System.
So how was that conversation?
Yeah, I
with
was
them,
gonna
though?
know. Let's talk about the
Yeah, how was
conversation.
the
Don't just
conversation? Because you already know if it's not a doctor, what is it,
Man.
engineer,
A lawyer.
or a lawyer,
Yeah.
like they don't want to hear. They don't
I
have a
was doing
conversation.
physical therapy to be a doctor. I ain't doing no physical therapy,
Maybe even
nothing.
accounting
Yeah.
too. You throw that in there
Man.
as well too.
Not even accounting.
But I'm trying to think. How did I? My dad. I mean, also context. My dad lived in New York, so like we growing up, we
Okay.
had my mom that was, she raised us in Ghana. She's, the OG, but she also like just understood. She knew what she knew, right? But my dad also brought in this other perspective where for him, New York guy, he's as New York as it gets. You guys think of New York, my dad was like New York, New York. So for him, he always kind of gave that. My mom was like, what are you going to do? My dad is like, you figure out what he's going to do. So the conversation wasn't as bad as I thought. It's mostly
Okay.
you're more scared to have the conversation, but then when you do, it's really not as bad as you always think.
Facts.
But it was all right, I think.
So do you go back home to Ghana often? Do you have business there? How does that work?
Yeah, so year 2 of the company, we actually decided to have more of a presence in Ghana. And even backtrack, I think as we were growing in New York, always, obviously, like, this, we always go back home. So like since I've been in the US, every Christmas, every holidays, I go back home.
Right.
So the relationships and the network in Ghana was always strong. I always kept my friends there. I was new. So I think as we all were growing up and everyone was actually, elevating their careers, starting companies, we all kept in touch, right? So one of the main projects that I worked on in Ghana was a restaurant which was owned by one of my friends, right? So worked with them to help launch that. And that was kind of like the entry point and understanding, okay, what the opportunities look like. So year 2 of the business really just started also focusing resources to Ghana to really test out what it can look like to start a company there, build a team there, try and work there. So I go back quite a bit. I think last year I was there maybe once a month or every other month. This year, now that we have a solid process flow of things, I'm probably there once a quarter. But the idea is that Ghana serves as the home base, and then we service the rest of the continent. So the goal now. I mean, I think this year we've done Zambia, we've done Rwanda, we've done Kenya. So the goal is that Ghana becomes like the satellite office for us, and then we work across the continent.
Go out.
And you're working with creatives out there, right? And you're helping kind of market and build their, like, I guess their brands or their products, whatever the case they be trying to push. Is that what the whole kind of central point of what you guys are doing back over there in Ghana?
Yeah. So the core thing we do is really help bring ideas to life.
Okay.
So whatever that idea might be, it could be a restaurant, it could be a beverage company, it could be a fashion brand, pet, Our role is really to come in, help flesh out that idea and figure out, okay, how do we position this thing in the market for it to be successful? But also, how do we build this thing for it to go past Africa? That is, I think, what differentiates us is the fact that we take a global approach to all these brands and companies we work with. So it's creatives, it's entrepreneurs, it's companies that already exist. Our goal is really to say, okay, hey, we can build brands and build brands that not just live in Africa but live outside of Africa. And I think even for the U.S., for me, what was always a kind of a trigger point was like if you go to like Target and you see black brands, it's always on the bottom shelf. Or I mean not to get on Target, but like Walmart was actually a good one. Growing up in Oklahoma, it's like you see these brands where it's like I'm going to go and find some shea butter to put in my hair. You go to Walmart and it's like on the bottom shelf. But why is that? Why is it on the top shelf? Because it's not packaged. It's not calling the audience they're looking for, right? And it's a good product. Like shea butter is good for everybody. It doesn't have to just be for people of color. So I think the goal for me was always like, hey, you can really differentiate yourself if you package things right, design things right, market things right. Obviously, there's more elements to it, but this is also a way to get yourself on that top shelf, right? So I think when I started the company, it was always from that, was to say, okay, hey, like how do we build brands, products amongst ourselves, amongst our communities that also make the top shelf? And that was really what we wanted to do, because I saw my friends in New York do this and raise $3 million here and there to launch a skincare line. I'm like, why are we finding it so challenging to do the same thing? So our role is to help get us on that top shelf.
So being Ghanaian, and have you noticed the migration of Americans moving over to Africa? Let's just say Africa in its whole. Since you are going back every year and you also have a business out there, have you been watching the migration of Americans moving over to Ghanaian? And how do you feel about it also? And how does it work for you within your business as well?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, we've seen it, and I think we've all experienced it.
I actually was going to say, like, the year of the return, was it 2020?
2019.
2019,
Yep.
yeah. So in 2019, people have heard of the year of the return, right? And I just saw this. I mean, we always went back home.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it, like Americans, African Americans, people were just going to Africa. I mean, I got to give credit to Ghana. I don't know if that's what it was, but all of a sudden you start seeing people like Cardi B, all these
I believe that's
people going back and tapping into the culture. I was seeing like Ludacris post about it. I was seeing like, and I didn't know what it was, but they were all going to Ghana. Yeah. Like literally it was Ghana. Everyone just trying to go back to Ghana. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you start seeing this wave of people now going to Nigeria also, going to other parts of Africa. Yeah. And some people were like now getting land and doing all these different things
There's something Ghana's doing though. And it's not as if Nigerians were, like, people were coming back home to Nigeria for a long time, but it's always been kind of quiet, but social media has kind of grown, and then a lot of people now are trying to tap into that I lost my history thing, I lost my history. And Ghana has made it very obtainable to get the information where they can be like, yo, I can't remember the place because I haven't been there, so I'm not an expert at it, but I know for sure there's a place where they can show you like this is where slavery. They're like these were where slaves were held at. This is what happened. I'm like the castle, and I'm like, yo, this is what people want to see. This is what people want to like get a feeling of. And then also when you come here, they just want to be felt like I belong. That's it. I just want to belong.
Yeah, I think Kojo can speak on that because you're Ghanaian for one, and also like, is it marketing? What happened? What caused? Because I didn't even know what the year of the return was. I just know that's what it was called.
Yeah.
And then
I think that there's a couple of layers to it, right? So part of it is marketing, but also listen to like a lot of like financial podcasts and stuff too. And I think that someone made a great point that like, it's Africa the new India. Think about what India was like 15, 20 years ago, right? And how much it's blown up, right? As far as businesses going out there and stuff like that. Do you think that's going to be the next case? Like, are Americans trying to tap into it now and get in there early to try to kind of do the same thing?
Strike while the iron is hot.
We got all these questions for you, man.
So
It's loaded. We want to know. We want to
know.
Yeah, I think there's many layers.
We do want to know.
There's many different layers of why people are starting to gravitate towards Africa, right? Yeah. Part of the year to return, shed some light on it as far as cultures, right? And Americans now I want to feel like you mentioned, I belong and stuff like that. I want to know where I came from, and a part of it's also I think there's a business aspect behind it as well too, right? I mean, athletics. I mean, NFL's going back there, NBA's going back there. Everybody's launching something there. Why? You know, so that's kind of what we want. And since you're always out there, foot's on the ground, we asking you those questions.
I mean, I can't speak to the whole continent, but I think what I can do is just obviously provide my perspective on
Absolutely.
where and how this shift is happening. But I think to backtrack, I think from proximity, saying that the year of return, or I think the wave that happened was one, really just us going back. And by us, I mean like Africans in diaspora. I mean really just Africans that moved, come to college. Going back wasn't about going to party. It was literally about going back to see the family. Because most of us, our parents still lived on the continent and still lived in Ghana. So it was really going back to see the family. But the way we also went back was, we did have a good time. Like whenever we were back in December, like the fits,
everybody's
like
already
the
knowing
parties, that. Like yo,
people know what during December is now.
We used to go back with suitcases of one suitcase full of clothes, like wasn't full of shoes, bro. The other full of shirts, bro. Like that's how we went back. So back in the day, just say high five Facebook. When we go, even back in college, like my friends would be like, yo, I need to come back to Ghana with you because the content we posted just us partying. It was like, this is not the Africa we know.
Oh right? No, we're shedding light.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we didn't know. For us, it was we had just going back home. And I'm gonna go flex on my homies back home. I wasn't flexing on nobody else. But I was like, yo, like we had different colored shoes for every day. But it was because of that. And I think that got picked on. And then people that didn't have that consistency of going back home wanted to go back home. And started seeing that. So come 2017, 2018, you had even now celebrities looking at their close friends because you have, let's just say if I'm homies or friends with Ludacris, what here and there, it's like, I'll take you home. Let's all go back to Ghana. This is my home. The same way you take me to your home in Texas, I'm taking you to my home in Ghana. Right. So that also started picking on people that not from Ghana or from the continent saying I want to also go and experience it. And then the year of return happened. I think it was a combination of things, of the timing, but also I think at that time the government in Ghana and where they wanted to position themselves, it was just a great strategy for them to say, let's launch this initiative. It was 400 years since the first slave ship left Ghana, and the timing was just right. And they put together a team that helped execute that. So you had a few celebrities. You had Boris Kojo. You had I forgot who else. I mean, I
do remember that.
And they kind of took this initiative and obviously shed light on that. And also, most importantly, you had festivals like Afrochella. I think Afrochella was pivotal to the year of return and became this thing where even if you're not going for the year of return, you're going for Afrochella. So you have Abdul, Kenny, all the guys from that really working diligently to ensure that they were
Some people might not know what Afrochella is. Do you want to break that down real quick?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Afrochella now rebranded to Afrofuture.
Afrofuture, there we go. That's what I wanted to say.
So to make that correction, Afrofuture really was pivotal to that. But Afrofuture is a 2-day festival that's held in Accra, Ghana, which highlights up-and-coming musical acts, but also there's food, there's culture, there's activations, and then they always obviously have a headliner. I think last year they had Ashake, but it's really this cultural festival that's held in Accra, bringing the people together, and it's been beautiful to see the reach that's had, right? Because I think that really was, the year of return happened, but yet again, I think Future became kind of that continuity that needed to happen. And it, they started the festival way before that. I think it was 2016. But they've been, and we've seen them grow. Abdul's a homie, so like we've seen them grow and build this thing to become what it is.
You've seen more people try to even also, I won't say duplicate it, replicate it, but they've also that African, like the Afro Nation, they've taken off. I mean, now there's shows everywhere, almost every country. Now it's not even in Africa anymore. It's what's the showing up? Puerto Rico.
I
What
believe
is
there's
it?
one in Portugal right now.
Portugal right now.
Yeah.
That's Afro Nation.
That's Afro
That's
Nation
Afro
in
Nation.
Portugal,
See,
right?
That's amazing.
And then they have another one coming up in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken,
That's
next
also
month.
Afro Nation.
Yeah, it's Afro Nation.
So I think to answer the question around what I call the big migration is just the fact that the timing was right. I think for these activations, these events to happen, and I think social media also played a good role to your point to document this and get the word out there. So now you see people going back, and I think the initiative with the Year of Return was not just people going back to party. It was also to say, hey, we're going to give you citizenship to Ghana. We're going to give you land to Ghana. Make it easier for you to be able to go back. So you had literally everybody trying to. Steve Wonder, I think, just declared that he's moving back to Ghana. Ghana was giving away passports to people because it was a way to say, hey, you can come back home. And strategically, it was a way to say, okay, how do we collaborate more with the diaspora, with the knowledge that they have, to also collaborate with local talent, local companies to also help grow Africa. So that was really the initiative behind it, or at least the objective behind it, not but that was really the goal of it. So I think that is why we see now where there's a lot more spotlight on Africa. There's more companies. Spotify's launched their Kendrick did album release, I think, like 2 years ago. So it's you see now Africa having the moment, but I think it was this ripple effect that started from
I believe also the artist, that Afro beats rising also kind of helped.
Yeah,
For sure.
As well. Right. You can see the trends when now artists being spotlighted, and now Asake was that was not a household name a few years ago, then became one. And then there's also the rise of Burna Boy at the same period of time, in a sense.
That's what I say. There's a lot of layers to it, man. It's not one
Exactly.
singular thing that's kind of like benefiting or contributing to like how much Africa is growing, as far as us connecting, one, with the people back out in America, and then two, just the continent itself, or the countries itself within Africa, just growing immensely.
Brands are
people,
putting a lot of
brands
money
are putting money into
Marketing
it.
is going into
Marketing
it.
is going into
100%.
it. Everything like that. So yeah.
But I think it's the stage was set, and then to your point, a lot of elements came in place because I think once Africans just started celebrating themselves outside of Africa in a way that it was just inspirational for people to see, it made it easy for these artists to also, because we started celebrating, and I always believe this, is like, the more we celebrate ourselves, the more we're able to, create equity and wealth for ourselves.
Definitely feel like it's our turn right now. That's that's just genuinely how I feel like it's our turn. You know what I'm saying? And I think
don't let it go though.
yeah, got to
Also,
continue to
don't let it go.
capitalize on
It's just
momentum.
getting started. We just getting started. This ain't it. This is like still the
Infant stages.
This is the infant stages, but we've been doing this for a while now. Like a lot of creatives, like I don't know if you guys have noticed, you go on all these social media platforms, a lot of creatives are like, there's more podcasts in Africa. There's more like stuff going on. Like there's fashion, art, music. I mean, what do you think like that creative movement is like now in Africa? Like, have you seen that also? Like, what's this energy going? Like, what's going on? Like, it's making people want to start doing things now. Like people weren't doing these things when I was growing up. I wasn't seeing any.
But think about it, right? Because when we were growing up, we didn't celebrate creatives. We celebrated engineers, doctors, lawyers.
Yeah,
That's true.
So right now we live in
true.
a creative economy
Right.
where content is king. Everyone has a phone. Everyone can create something and put their work out.
Great
there.
point. Great
It's
point.
social media influencers that are more lit now.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the thing about kind of the creative movement that's happening is like brands back in the day used to pay, and they probably still do, but they used to pay millions for a commercial, right? And that commercial was like a minute commercial was over TV. But now brands are scaled back. They don't spend that much money on ads, right? Every brand is trying to be scrappy, from the bigger brands to lower brands, because your content is 15 seconds on the phone, right? So take that back to Africa, where we've been trying to make something out of scraps all the time. We have these creatives that you give a creative a camera, you give you some dope ass content that you probably
We're gonna get the energy
probably
from somewhere
how
else.
did you spend that much money? I mean, let's be frank, even for us, when I take the clients that we have in the US, clients on the continent, when they come, it's like, we don't have the budget. We have to figure it out.
Yeah.
We have to figure out to still give them the quality that will give any brand in the US. But you have less to work with on the continent. And I think that's the beautiful thing that's what this hype is coming from. Because like one of my favorite brands in Ghana is this brand called Free the Youth. But it's this streetwear brand, and they just like, they get it. It's raw.
I know the brand.
Yeah.
It's clean.
But the whole point is like, I think creatives on the continent, or at least even speaking to Ghana specifically, it's just that you're forced to make a lot with nothing. And I think with that, now that we live in an economy where everybody, even like now TikTok, people are just getting cameras and trying to make a lot out of nothing. It's like, we've been doing this. So it's almost like that, it's the time that we have to basically just dominate and own that, because we've been doing this.
So I know, because that was I think this was a topic on one of our on our other podcasts. So we were talking about basically like the whole point of trying to move back to Africa. Now, let's say you were able to, because you're Ghanaian, and you were able to come here, establish yourself, and then also go back home and do the work. What if someone else from America has that same idea, but they don't know how to? What is the best advice you would give someone to, if they did want to go tap back in Africa and had an idea? What information could you give that person?
How can they tap into what we're doing, basically?
No, I think I'll say to tap in or try and do anything on the continent, to go back home, is to really go understand how things work there first. I think the biggest misconception, or the biggest, I'll say, mistake most people do, is to say, okay, hey, this is working, like, okay, this is working in America, or this is working in the UK. I can take it and go and replicate that on the continent. Not. So I think the biggest thing is like spending time there, which is funny because that's what anyone would do anywhere else. If you're coming to LA, you wouldn't just pick up and say, I'm just going to come to LA and start shooting shit, because that's the way I've been doing it. You figure out, you learn, you meet people, you connect to people, and through those connections, you try and figure out, okay, how do I launch this? And I think the first step anyone needs to do is just go understand, visit, understand it, understand how people work, how the culture work, what are the nuances, build the relationships. Because the thing about, I'll speak for Ghana, is like, the thing about Ghana is if you go and you wanted to do something, people are going to help you, right? You're going to get this love, this support. So I think it's just really getting the buy-in in people as you building something is key, because you learn a lot. And I think if you go on with that mindset of I'm trying to learn, you learn a lot and figure out what is the way to launch something that's going to work, versus trying to think I'm going to copy and paste something that is already working somewhere to work here. It doesn't work.
It's so much better to be in front of that person than to be sending stuff online like Fiverr's helping me out with my business. Oh, you can help me while you're over there. Like, you've heard about the uncles that are buying you houses in Africa, but then you're not even there. And then you try to see a house, and it's like, what house? I was even gonna say this, because even for example, my pops, right? Well, growing up in a house in Nigeria, all Nigerians. I went back to Nigeria last year. My dad's neighbors are Chinese people. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, these Chinese people are like, have security guards, drivers, and they're driving away, like driving out. And I'm like, something is changing here. I went to my sister's hotel, and everyone that was catering to us, everything were like from different countries. And I was confused, like, what's going on? And then I went to Ghana, right? And these clubs we were going to, super nice, fancy clubs. And I was with one of our friends, and he was like, oh, this is the owner of the club. And this guy came up to me, is not even an African guy. And I was confused, like, wow, these guys are the ones who own the restaurants out here, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I got to talking to this guy, and he's like, oh, I've been here 11 years. He has taken the time, he's like, the club just opened up like last year. Nice, super nice club. And he's like, I've been here 11 years. But it looks like you're back to what you were saying. He took the time to actually stay in the land. He moved his family.
Understood.
I don't know what country. I think it was, I can't even remember the country. I don't know if it was Persian or something. He came in, stayed there. His family, everyone migrated over there, and now he's doing business in Africa. And I'm like, wow, what's going on? It's like a shift.
Because the long-term goal is the long-term plan. For them, it's not like I'm coming in quick, 3 months I'm out, 6 months I'm out. Because I think what mostly happens is people get frustrated after 6 months and move back. It's not easy. It's not, anybody's going to tell you it's not easy. It's probably one of the hardest things. I mean, I personally, didn't say, it's like, can I move there full-time and do it? I don't know. Because after a couple of projects, I was like, yo, this is not easy. But I think the misconception is that, oh, we have a way of doing things, and we expect that way is how things also need to work there. But what people don't understand is, like, their way of doing things is their way of doing things. You have to learn versus trying to change it, right? And I think trying to figure out how things work there, it's not an easy. It's a long term. Like, give it at least 10 years, and hopefully. But also some people, and there's a lot of layers to it. It's not a one size fits all. It's multi-layered. I've had friends that have had successful businesses there and then had to move back because there's change in the economy, government, and now you have to move back and start all over in America again. It's not for the hard. You have to be ready for it.
I have, because the crazy part is you're just scrolling on TikTok like everybody does and you get caught up in stuff. But I was on TikTok and I seen a lot of conversations where people were having these conversations like, because you mentioned having to be able to study being in Africa. And I had a conversation this lady was speaking and she was like, one of the people migrated to Ghana, moved over there. Oh, she was complaining. Bro. She was hot. She was just like, it's not what I thought it was. People are charging me more than I'm supposed to be getting, blah, blah, this and this and that. I'm like, yo, you went there blinded though. You went there with a hope that, and I don't know this lady, but hey, if y'all crucify me, it is what it is. You're probably fucked up in America. And you thought it was a okay, like, oh, I can reset it. Let me go to Ghana and try to reset it. And you went over there and figured out you were going to bring that mentality back to Africa. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to be there, be humble, and actually learn the people, learn the economy, and then she probably would have had a better experience because it was tons of stuff like that. People were just mad. I'm like, you came to Africa with the idea that it was going to be like America, and that's not how it is.
You also went there and you're asking for omelets and egg
Yeah, you thinking it's sweet.
Everybody, you gotta ship the sauce. The sauce is not made there.
Police officers stop you. Don't understand that you gotta do something for that police officer. You thinking it's like you can't do like.
People going, it's like, oh, why are things so expensive? Well, if you go in there and you're trying to eat sushi, it's going to be expensive.
Right,
because it has to be imported.
Yeah.
People don't think about these things. And the amount of taxes and tariffs people have to pay to get things from the...
Imported.
A lot of people don't understand economics and everything like that, and how that stuff works.
Some fufu and some gari, and I bet it's not going to be that expensive.
Yeah.
You Nigeria thinking it's going to be like, even anywhere in Africa, like we get even tables, you're like, damn, I didn't know I was going to be spending $3,000 for this table. What you think was going to happen? The bottles, you wanted Casamigos. What do you think happened?
It has to be imported.
If you think about it, right? If you go to, let's just say, go to Greece, and somewhere on the European coast, so like, and they're charging you X amount of bottle, you don't question that. Why is that? When you go to Africa, then you have to question that.
You wonder why it's not $200 or $100. You thinking it's supposed to be.
In some places you go, some of these islands you go, they have to import everything, right? And you pay
Bahamas.
extra for it because of that.
Yep.
St. Bart's is not cheap because of that.
Yeah.
Right? But the question is, we don't question it. We know that's the vibe we're buying into. So like, you got the money or you got the money?
Right. If not, stay at home.
Yeah. But
No, that's a good one.
That's a good one. So how do you feel about? I know we won't dive deep into the question, but when African Americans are moving to Ghana, and then there's this notion that they're just giving away land in Ghana.
Well, this lady went on YouTube and posted that she got her free land and she built it and that went viral and everyone was like, you can get free land, and they looked into it and saw that they do give you free land or something like that.
Yes.
But there's a controversy behind that.
So how are the locals taking that, right? Like the government's giving free land to people from America that haven't done much for the economy or whatever the case may be. So how are the locals taking that? Like, are they mad? Are they upset? Or are they okay with it?
hey, I mean, think about it. If somebody came to LA and said, you know what, the land next door is giving somebody for free, and you're paying mortgage on your house, how would you feel?
I mean, yeah, man, shoot, we gonna be.
I'm gonna
be upset.
Get a free land.
I'm gonna be upset
I'm working
for sure.
to get that land. I can't even afford that.
I'm paying taxes and everything.
Thank you.
So yeah,
I'm paying
I get 'em
taxes.
on that part for
So
sure.
then,
For sure.
but the thing that it's not about how they feel. The question is how are people that are going back feeling when they're getting it for free? Why are they not saying, oh wait, where's this land coming from?
That's true.
What is their also responsibility in getting the free land? Because
That part.
being in America, we know very sure nothing is for free. But all of a sudden we go to Africa and it's free and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a double-edged sword. I think it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, the locals are upset, but wouldn't you be upset?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and what would you do about it? I mean, we'll protest here in America all day.
Well, first of all, what even led to that? What made people say, like, was that the government trying to say we want? Is that they wanted people to come back home? Is that why they were giving
make
out?
it easy? They want to make it easy for you to be
Okay.
able to migrate back, which is to some degree, to some extent, is it's a good initiative depending on how you look at it. But the question is like, what land is being given out? Whose land is being given out? But also, I think the thing that, to me, all of that is a good cause, but then think about it from the locals and how are people that are going back treating the locals. That's, for me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going back and, I mean, I think I watched one of these videos. I don't know how real it is and what the extent of the truth of that video was, but one of the people that got free land was going to pull a gun on somebody that said the land was theirs. The local came and said, hey, this land is mine. And he said, if you show up to my land, I have a gun. That's crazy.
Right.
That is some crazy, so the question is like, it's how...
The house is yours, but not the land.
Like, how are you going back and also treating the locals in a certain way, which is not okay? Because if that happened here in the U.S., that would be war.
It's not. I have an example. It's not the same example, but it's similar. There is a video I saw on social media. Not sure how true it is, but of a non-Nigerian family. I'll just put it like that. I ain't gonna say what race they were. They opened up a supermarket and they said no Nigerians are allowed. They said no Nigerians allowed in the middle of this is in Nigeria, and they said no Nigerians allowed, and people were like upset, uproar, everything like that, and they actually got like basically kind of ran out. So kind of like what you said, is about how you're gonna come out here, open a business. Now how you treating the locals? You can't discriminate against the locals. You're in our territory, you're in our land, so you got to come out here and you have to have the right mindset and work with us, and I think that's the best way for you to succeed if you are very nice in working with the locals.
Yeah, I don't even think you have to be politically correct about it, honestly. You can just tell it as it is. It was Chinese. It was the Chinese. They came over to Nigeria, opened up a supermarket, and put a sign there saying that they wouldn't allow Nigerians in, Just say it as it is. It's just, you don't even have to sugarcoat it because it was something that actually happened. It was a fact that it happened. And the locals actually got in an uproar and they shut it down. It's still closed till today.
Good.
And and they're like, at some point, I'm glad that the government actually stepped in and we're just like, okay, regardless of whatever's happening on that side, we still have to fight for our own people, and we still have to have a sense of openness to where, you can come in here and do business, but at the same time, don't shun the people of this country as well from having the opportunity to shop at these areas.
There was a leader back in, I don't remember, Idi Amin. I don't know if you remember Idi Amin. It's like a major guy. He kicked out everybody in that country. I think it was Ghana. I'm not sure what country, but he kicked out everyone that was not African out of the country. And you had you can look this up, you can do research, there's videos about it. If you were not from Africa, people were shutting down their houses, closing, and the locals were happy because they were like, you're taking our jobs. I mean, he took it to the extreme. Became a dictator eventually, and then eventually they got him out of there too. But he literally he's like, nope, we want all the jobs, we want everything. You can't be coming out here, we're paying you, just take the money back to your land. We're paying you, taking the money back to your land, but you're not doing anything here. You're not hiring our people, you're not doing anything. So he made that, he's like, all of y'all gotta go. Now, if it's open where you can just come into our country and do all these things, I mean, now you're found if you're saying we can't even shop there too. Like, you already have the opportunity to be here, have your businesses here,
I mean, the thing is, there's value in obviously like collaborating and obviously working with, we can't say only Africans.
No,
so like,
that was extreme.
I think there's value in the collaboration, there's value in, getting outside help. But I think for me, it's always like, who owns it? I think it's just a matter of like, if we retain the ownership and be able to at least ensure like there's systems, there's policies in place that are basically helping, locals, people that are from wherever this might be, whatever country it is like they own it. I think there's even policies, I think even in Ghana, where it's like, if you're starting a business in Ghana, you need to have a local partner. I'm not sure how hard that's enforced, but like,
I love that.
You need that, right? And I think that's kind of what it's going to take. Because at the end of the day, it's the ownership that matters.
Speaking of ownership, I think we mentioned earlier before we started the show, we're having a conversation, and you mentioned about some of these initiatives and some of these different steps that are going on, and you're like, even from festivals and all these different like stuff that are being activated in Africa, and we're like, who actually owns that stuff, right? Is that like, do you think that the locals or the Africans or whatever the case may be are getting their fair share of the profit? Who's actually profiting from all these different things that are being activated within the country?
We don't know.
Don't know.
We
Right?
don't know.
That's the mystery. That's the mystery, right?
But I will give credit to, I would say our generation, just saying from like, at least my peers, let me put it that way. I think that it's very inspiring to see a lot of my peers, a lot of people that I grew up with starting businesses, and obviously, like I mentioned, like Afrofuture is one of them. It's all Ghanaian owned. It's three guys that all started this, and I think they've they've owned or retained it and built it and grew it. You know, you have brands that like, you know, doing well, showing at like the Brooklyn Museum that are owned and fully owned by, you know, Africans. So I do think that there is, I think our generation is very aware of what it's going to take.
Gotcha.
Right. So I think that we're not moving in blindly, but it's not easy, and I think you do need the help. You need the help to scale it.
You think our generation basically is maintaining ownership instead of taking that, hey, we're going to pay this, and we're really going to own most of your concert or whatever it is, your brand, and we're going to just give you a little bit of the profit or whatever the case may be. We're really kind of maintaining that ownership throughout the whole entire process, and not allowing these big companies to come in and overtake our you know, basically our product or company, whatever the case may be.
I would say that at least we'd be more strategic and more smart about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I mean, for me, if somebody came and say, I'm going to offer you like, okay, X amount of money.
We'll take that thing. 51 mil.
If I can take that money and use that to start something else.
Gotcha.
Or have equity, or have something.
You know,
for sure.
I think it all just is case by case basis. I think you can look at your situation and figure out, okay, what works best for you, but also how can you take that and leverage that? Because if somebody say, hey, I'm going to come in and buy the company out, and that money is enough for me to start something and even spread more wealth and opportunities for people, sure, bet, why not? Because for me, sitting and retaining 100% of something where it might not be able to reach there, it's also not good. So I think our generation we're just more in tuned about what it's going to take.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just a matter of like we collaborating together, we working together to really kind of build this to what it needs to be.
I'm optimistic about the future, like for a lot of things. When you guys are speaking about us, ourselves, we grew up a certain way. We literally have the best of both worlds a little bit. We were like in that, like, I remember typewriters. I remember when computers came.
I use that typewriter.
Right?
I went to computer school to learn.
Floppy disk.
I
still got a floppy disk.
CDs and to get internet. I know fiber optics now.
That sound of the internet connecting. Yeah.
Where does your business now, where do you have planned for the future? Where do you see your business going? Like, how does that look for you in your eyes right now?
Do you plan on incorporating AI?
What podcast am I on?
Text-based.
That's a big thing. I think that's gonna be a big part of the future. That's why. So I mean, that's a great question. I think that.
Yeah. No, I think for me, I think the passion is always just seeing, you know, African voices, African brands being elevated where the level which it needs to. And I think, you know, being able to contribute to that, right? So where does the business go? And I think for us, we've been able to help service and help partner with entrepreneurs, companies for over 5 years now. And I think for us now, it's also looking in-house to say, what can we build in-house, right? So like, what products can we do? What products can we launch in-house? Because we have the tools, right? So as much as we will help support entrepreneurs now, I mean, continue to support entrepreneurs, I think the next move for us is really also building things in-house and figure out how we get it out to market. So, and then we'll see from there, you know.
So like right now, I'm in school right now, so I'm actually taking business marketing courses as of right now in school. So a lot of this is real information for me. How do you know? Make it a little controversial. How do you know when you're speaking with somebody and they're talking about their business? Do you take everybody, or is there sometimes you be like, I wouldn't dare touch that? Like, how does that conversation, how does that decision work for you?
Great question, actually. We don't take anybody because I think it's one of those things where, for us, the people that makes the most sense to work with are the people that are trying to build some sort of like consumer brand, right? So if you come to us and say, I'm an oil company that is trying to build it. I mean, to be fair, actually, I might take that because the check might be big. So I don't know. I mean, to be fair, it's a tricky question. I think it's case by case basis.
Yeah.
I think it just depends if the person understands what the value. I would say this actually is that the people that we work with are people that understand the value of brand and the value of storytelling. Not everyone does, right? I think there's a way to go about things. There's a way to build brands, craft your narrative that creates equity and value for your business, right? So I think for me, that's the thing I look at it. Does the founder, does the entrepreneur understand that and the value of that? If they do, then it's game time. Then can you afford the services?
So do you find yourself more of a teacher though? Like, because if I knew how to do it, I wouldn't need you. You understand what I'm saying? So more so now if I'm like, yo, I need you to help me brand this watch here. It can do this and this and that. So more so, you become a teacher, don't you? Because now you're kind of teaching me the ins and outs of the business, but at the same time, I'm paying you because you know so much about it. You're just gonna basically run with it and get me to where I need to be. You know?
It's twofold. It's either you don't know or you don't have the time in the back. And for us, it's really that we just an integrated team. So my team is quite small. We're about 8 people. And obviously we have freelancers, contractors that we bring on, but the core team is around 8 to 9 people. But what we do is we just kind of integrate into your business. So it almost becomes this like marketing, design, brand agency within your company. So it's either that you don't know or you don't have the time and the team to kind of do it. So we just come in till you have enough money or you have enough revenue to kind of build your own team.
Gotcha.
So we just serve as like your in-house team till you
Gotcha. So basically, like you're like an outsource for them. Like, hey, I don't have enough time. Let me just go ahead and reach out to your
But it's really
agency.
for us the partnership though. Like
Gotcha.
it's a partnership. Like we push. I don't think every founder, every person we work with, we push them outside their limits. So it's not. We don't really. It's not of you telling me, hey, let's go do this, and we go and do it.
Right.
It's really
All
us coming
collaborative.
to you and saying, this is what we think
Okay.
is best for your business
Gotcha.
because of X, Y, and
Yep.
Z. Because AI told me.
And I mean, that's a sign of a great company. I wouldn't want
Yeah.
somebody who would just say, I'm making all the decisions. Like, no, you're the expert. I came to you, so let's collaborate. Tell me what works. What works? What have you seen work? You have more experience than me. You have probably other examples of other projects that you worked on. Let's collaborate. Let's take this to the next level. So that makes a lot of sense.
So another quick question: you single? Kinda. At
No,
one
I'm
point.
not single. I'm in a relationship.
All right. How long have you been in a relationship?
Shout out, babe.
Yeah, there you go. How long you been in a relationship?
6
while now?
months. 6 months.
Okay.
6
All right.
months,
All right.
yeah.
All right. Way before that. Way before your girl. So when you have done these festivals, have you ever seen somebody that you wanted to work with, but at the same time you were like, God damn, this motherfucker beautiful? like, has that ever been has that? Because my thing is, if I see, who's my, Jill Scott is up there. Jill Scott. I like Jill Scott. Jill Scott. And probably Cardi. But yeah, so like, have you ever seen somebody that you were just like, yo, you wanted to collab with, but at the same time, there was a dynamic and differences, like, dude, I can't collab with you.
When it comes to like doing the show.
Basically, too tempted or something.
Like tempted, almost like, yo, like,
basically,
I can't work with you. This is crazy. Like,
Oh,
wait.
no, I'm not.
The money is, you guys
I need that money. True African.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
True African.
I give 5. No, it's the money. Yeah, it's
That's
yeah. I think.
You think with this. You think with this, right?
got
You think with your
gotta
brain.
get that money.
Yeah.
Can I get the bread? But it depends. I mean, hey, if they can afford the services, then forget. Like, but if they can't, then let's explore options.
I wanted to dive into like some banters, man. Like, there's a little friendly beef with Nigerians, Ghanaians mostly. It's like those two. We just have something. It's like
But I kind of think it's healthy, man. I think it's good marketing. Come on,
everybody knows about Ghana jollof, Nigerian jollof.
Now everybody knows. How many restaurants now? If just think about it, everyone knows what jollof is now. It was good marketing.
They do.
Yeah, it's true.
Like I'm sorry, that was. I don't think we intended it to be.
But everyone knows what kind of jollof is this one.
There's literally
But
an
they done his
event.
best.
I think there's literally an event that is just jollof
test
event,
it,
right?
yeah.
And it's like it's a couple different countries. It's like Ghana. It's
Senegal,
Senegal.
Sierra Leone.
Senegal always put their head in there saying they
Nigeria.
started it.
No, but Senegal,
They did start it.
According to Wikipedia, in my research, they started it.
They started
so
it.
imagine the beef going on between these two countries.
Right.
Like, whoa.
So, but
whoa.
that
But it
tells you
doesn't
how
even mean
big
it's-
it is when you actually have an event where there's like a cook-off event, like who has the best.
Have you ever had a Senegal
Actually, I have in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
I've never had it.
I had it in Las
No, it's
Vegas,
good.
actually.
Ghanaian jollof is dope. It's actually.
Did you? I didn't. It was cool.
I had it in Ghana.
It was
I had
cool.
to try it. First time I wanted to try it.
It was cool. I ain't,
try your jollof.
Wait, did they
I want
put
to make sure our guests don't run off the show, but yeah, it was cool.
Did they
It was
put an
nice.
egg in it? Did they put an egg in it too?
You do whatever you want to do.
I'm
And I know Nigerians be doing a lot.
Hey, what's this thing about Ghanaians and egg though? Like
Everybody likes eggs.
no, they stress it
Ghanaian
out.
egg is different.
Yeah, they love
stressing it out.
eggs.
I'm trying to get your girl to stay. Give us.
They love eggs.
I saw this TikTok video. The guy was like, he's like, this girl's getting mad. He kept showing her eggs, and then she's like, I was confused. Like,
Gave him more eggs.
he's like, eggs, and she got excited. Egg, egg.
But I look back, it's like there's always egg somewhere.
There's egg in everything, not just.
But I mean, hey, it's high protein.
You right about that?
That's true.
I think the banter is healthy, like you were saying, for sure. I think we're still brothers though, because we're neighboring countries and
of
everything
course,
like that. So a lot of us, the crazy part is, a lot of Nigerians will go over to Ghana, get married, have children. A lot of Ghanaians will probably also come Nigeria.
there's
So
a
a
flux of
lot of us
Nigerians living in
are
Ghana.
tied by blood, like literally, seriously.
I did my ancestry thing. I don't know if I told you about it. It says I was 1% Ghanaian, and I was confused.
Oh, for real?
On my thing, it said 99% Nigerian, 1% Ghanaian. I was like, did somebody dibble dabble in that? Hey, great grandma, did you like?
Stuck their toe in it, like literally.
Did you like? I was confused. Why is that 1%? But then you think about it, we're literally like you can drive
right
into
there.
Ghana.
Exactly.
We're like right there.
Yeah.
Neighboring.
We're neighboring. And a lot of Nigerians also marrying Ghanaians. I met a guy who was Nigerian speaking, and he was like, yeah, I've been married to my wife for 5 years, but I've been in Ghana for like 15 years. I'm like, wow, that's a thing.
Yeah. But you know why that all works very well? It's also, to your point, it's very easy to bounce between Ghana and Nigeria. So that relationship is very strong, but you don't see that across Africa. But also, it's very hard to travel across Africa.
Man.
Like within Africa.
No, seriously.
That's a whole different podcast.
Ghana was
but
the
like,
first
yeah.
country I ever went to in Africa. Like, think about, like, besides my Nigerian, I was wondering, like, I've been to Europe and I've been in different places in Europe. In Africa, I can't really go to South Africa and just pull up.
Can you speak on that? Like, you know how, like in America, right? I could just drive to another state, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to go through some sort of like border or anything like that. Like, as far as like, I don't have to present my passport and all that just to go to like Arizona or Nevada. Is it the same way in Africa? Because like you said, I've never been to the neighboring countries or anything like that. So
I'm just setting you up just so that you know. Maybe the only thing I want to say before you say anything is, just so we don't get ourselves in a little tiff, is we're talking about countries.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you're going from one country to the other country, what is the expectation? So like, for us to think that
we can just
drive, it's kind of it's like saying we can drive from like the U.S. from like Texas to Canada. Like, it's Canada. Like it's countries that we're dealing with.
Right.
So just.
I mean, I do hear that, but to answer your question, man, I think as an African guy, I still would be my safety is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just gonna pull up to Togo. I'm not gonna pull up to Congo.
Right.
I'm not gonna pull up to Uganda. I don't know anybody there, and I don't have no business being there. I can't be just going just because. Whereas in Europe, it's like, okay, I feel a little more like I can just. I mean, you going to like four different places out there.
But is it because, not to cut you off, but like, is it because that's the narrative you know?
Well, I don't know anybody.
Yes.
I don't know anything. I can't. No one has ever said let's go to.
But you go places where you don't know anybody. So let's be real here.
Facts.
You go places where you don't know
Facts.
anybody.
That's true.
But you go places where you've seen things and you're like, I'll be okay here.
Exactly.
That's why.
There's nothing that I'm looking to go. Like I have no. Like,
That's why you ended up in Ghana. You ended up in Ghana because you've seen something in Ghana.
But I'm saying all these other countries, I don't know anything
Facts.
going on.
So let me give you let's just take somewhere like Mozambique. If I said let's go to Mozambique, you'd be like, bro, I don't know anything about Mozambique.
I might be down to go.
Because
I'll be down because you're telling me.
Yeah, but if the point I'm trying to make is because we don't see anything that we feel remotely we're going to be safe when we go there, because that's the narrative that's being pushed to us.
we talked about it in the episode, media, how the media plays that role.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the fact that you are saying you might not go because you don't feel safe, is it because yes, it's a fair point. It's fact that yes, some places are not safe because there's wars happening.
A lot of African countries have some wars going on there.
Yes.
That's what I meant by that. But yeah.
That's true. I know that's what you meant. But what I was trying to push you is also to say, like, for instance, we went to Kenya, and I think maybe a few years back, we're in Lamu. Where we were was safe. But if we went 2 hours out, we might get in some trouble, right? But the thing is, did it stop us from going? No, the content that you saw from me was not war. It was a beautiful island, and my abs are showing.
How did you know? That's why you posted it. You're in Africa.
Exactly. But that's my point.
But somebody must have told you that 2 hours away is.
No, we didn't know till we got there.
See, someone told you when you got there.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm saying I wouldn't know.
Well, probably security or somebody was just like, yo, make sure you don't keep going down this road right here.
The point I'm trying to make is that we can still travel to these places. It doesn't mean like the entire country is at war. There are places where it's safe for you to go.
Like Mexico.
And everywhere.
Don't just pull up to anywhere in
Facts.
Mexico. But then we
Facts.
didn't even hear Tulum. All of a sudden, everyone wants to go to Tulum because everyone was like, oh, Tulum.
Facts.
So then the last thing is the fact that why do we make this narrative about the entire place not being safe when it's just sections? Because that's how we travel everywhere else.
So how would you encourage people that want to come home or any part of Africa? How would you tell them to move, stay, stuff like that? How would they be able to?
Yeah. I mean, I think you need to be informed. I think you need to make some research, do some research to figure out what kind of travel you also want to go. Like, are you trying to go and explore the wild? Are you trying to get a city vibe? So I think landing on what kind of trip you want and then figure out what countries make it easy for you to go, because I think that's also, the ease of travel is key, right? You want to be able to get a visa quickly. You want to be able to get there and feel like you can navigate. And then you test that out. I think it's like everything else. You don't start eating, Nigerian food and just jump straight into the soup. You start with
You gotta
jollof.
start off with jollof
Exactly.
before you start doing the whole.
Exactly. So start somewhere you feel familiar with, and then from there you add onto the list and explore more.
What's your favorite type of food?
Banku and okra soup.
What?
Banku. It's a local Ghanaian dish. Banku and okra soup. It's made from okra. It's a soup, so you eat it just like a soup. But the banku is a ball. It's compressed, I think, in maize or corn. But that's the first meal I have when I land.
Kind of like fufu.
So, all right,
fufu, yeah.
let's say, all right, so I know we're wrapping up right now, but where's your camera? Your camera, boom, right there. Let the people know how they can get in contact with you, your social media, whatever information you want to give them, please let them know how they can get in contact with you.
Dope. So the company is Solvent. It's spelled SOLVNT.co. Our Instagram is @solvent.co. If you have great ideas, anything you want to do, you want to execute, just hit us up and we'll make it happen.
Perfect. Well, that was a good episode, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.
For sure.
Thanks for having me.
And with that being said, you guys, this is a wrap, man, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Three Tribesmen. Make sure to subscribe here, there, wherever I put it at, where editor puts it at. So we'll make sure to get in contact with you guys. Follow our social media. Make sure you like, comment, help us with the algorithm, all that good stuff, man. And we appreciate you guys being with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sweet.
50 minutes went by
good,
quick.
bro.
Let's get a pick too. Let's get a pick.